Virgo. 8 silent adjustments that attract more stability. Virgo, not every transformation announces itself. Not every change requires a dramatic overhaul, a bold declaration, or a visible leap of faith. Some of the most powerful shifts in life happen so quietly that even the person experiencing them barely notices until the results begin to accumulate. And for a sign like yours, a sign that understands the value of subtlety, of precision, of small things done consistently, these silent adjustments may be the most natural path to the stability you have been seeking. You do not need to reinvent yourself. You do not need to tear down what you have built and start over. What you need is far simpler and far more effective. You need to make a few quiet changes in the way you think, the way you respond, and the way you position yourself in relation to the life you want. These adjustments are not loud. They are not dramatic. But over time, they will reshape your reality in ways that no grand gesture ever could. Adjustment 1. The first silent adjustment is learning to pause before you react. Virgo is fast. Your mind processes information at a speed that most people cannot match. You see the problem, identify the solution, and begin executing before others have even fully understood what is happening. And while that speed is one of your greatest assets, it can also be one of your greatest vulnerabilities. Because speed without pause leads to decisions that are efficient but not always wise. It leads to responses that are accurate, but not always aligned with your deeper goals. The adjustment here is not about slowing down permanently. It is about creating a small space between stimulus and response. A breath, a moment of stillness, just enough time to ask yourself, is this reaction serving my long-term stability? Or is it just satisfying my immediate need to fix something? That question, asked consistently over weeks and months, will transform the quality of your decisions. It will lead you away from reactive patterns that drain your energy and toward intentional choices that build the foundation for lasting stability. You will find that many situations which once felt urgent are not urgent at all. You will discover that the most stabilizing thing you can do in any moment is to give yourself permission to not respond immediately. Adjustment 2. The second silent adjustment involves the way you talk to yourself about your own life. Virgo has an inner critic that is more active and more detailed than almost any other sign. You notice every flaw, every shortcoming, every gap between where you are and where you think you should be. And while that critical eye has driven you to improve in countless ways, it has also created a persistent undertone of dissatisfaction that erodes your sense of stability from the inside out. The adjustment is not about silencing that inner critic entirely. That voice is part of who you are, and at its best, it pushes you toward excellence. The adjustment is about balancing that voice with one that acknowledges what is going well. For every flaw you notice, can you also notice a strength? For every gap you identify, can you also identify a bridge you have already built? For every shortcoming you catalog, can you also catalog an accomplishment that deserves recognition? This is not about positive thinking or false optimism. This is about accuracy. Because right now, your inner narrative is skewed toward the negative, and that skew is creating instability in your emotional life that ripples out into your finances, your relationships, and your health. When you balance the narrative, when you give equal weight to what is working and what is not, you create an inner equilibrium that becomes the foundation for external stability. And that foundation, Virgo, is unshakable. Adjustment 3. The third silent adjustment is about your relationship with perfection. You already know that perfectionism is one of your defining traits. What you may not know is how much it is costing you in terms of stability, because perfection is not stability. Perfection is the opposite of stability. It is a moving target that ensures you never feel settled, never feel finished, never feel like enough. Every time you raise the bar, the ground beneath you shifts. Every time you demand more of yourself, the sense of solid footing you are seeking becomes a little more elusive. The adjustment is not about lowering your standards. It is about redefining what good enough means in the context of a stable, sustainable life. There are areas of your life where excellence is essential, where your attention to detail produces meaningful results. And there are areas where good enough is genuinely good enough, where the pursuit of perfection is consuming resources that could be better spent elsewhere. Learning to tell the difference between these two categories is one of the most stabilizing skills Virgo can develop. When you stop demanding perfection in every corner of your existence, something remarkable happens. Energy that was being spent on diminishing returns flows toward areas where it can make a real difference. Tasks that consumed hours now take minutes. Decisions that paralyzed you now flow freely. And the overall quality of your life improves not because you lowered your standards, but because you deployed them more strategically. Adjustment 4. The fourth silent adjustment has to do with the way you handle worry. Virgo worries. Not always visibly, not always dramatically, but consistently, persistently, in the background of almost everything you do. You worry about finances. You worry about health. You worry about whether you are doing enough, being enough, preparing enough for the uncertainties ahead. And while some degree of concern is healthy and appropriate, the chronic low-grade worry that many Virgos carry is anything but stabilizing. It is corrosive. It eats away at your peace, your sleep, your ability to enjoy the present moment. The adjustment is not about eliminating worry, because you cannot simply decide not to worry. It is about changing your relationship with it. Instead of treating worry as useful information, begin treating it as weather. It comes, it passes. It does not require you to rearrange your entire life every time it appears. When you feel the familiar tightening of anxiety in your chest, acknowledge it. Name it. Say to yourself, I notice that I am worrying right now. And then gently redirect your attention to something concrete. Something you can touch, see, hear, do. Pull yourself out of the hypothetical future and plant yourself firmly in the present moment. Over time, this practice rewires the neural pathways that have been reinforcing your worry patterns for decades. The worry does not disappear, but it loses its grip. It becomes background noise instead of the dominant soundtrack of your life. And in that quieter space, stability begins to grow naturally, organically, without effort. Because stability was always your natural state. It was just being drowned out by the noise. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Adjustment 5. The fifth silent adjustment involves your boundaries, specifically the ones you have not been enforcing. Virgo is a sign of service, and that service orientation means you often say yes when you mean no. You take on extra work because you can see that it needs to be done. You absorb other people's problems because your problem-solving nature cannot resist. You extend yourself beyond your capacity because someone needs help, and you are constitutionally incapable of walking away from a need you can fill. But every yes that should have been a no is a withdrawal from your stability account. Every time you override your own needs to meet someone else's, you erode the foundation you are trying to build. And the irony is that by not setting boundaries, you actually become less helpful over time, because you are depleting the very resources that make you effective. The adjustment is quiet but powerful. It is the practice of pausing before you say yes, and asking yourself whether this commitment supports or undermines your stability. It is the practice of saying, let me think about it, instead of immediately volunteering. It is the practice of recognizing that no is a complete sentence and that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is essential. When you begin to enforce boundaries consistently, you will notice that the people who respect you continue to respect you, and the people who were using you begin to find other sources. Both outcomes improve your stability dramatically. Adjustment 6. The sixth silent adjustment is about how you manage your physical environment. Virgo is often associated with order and cleanliness, and while that stereotype has some truth to it, the deeper reality is more nuanced. Many Virgos maintain order in some areas of their lives while other areas fall into quiet neglect. The desk is organized but the closet is chaos. The finances are tracked but the kitchen is cluttered. The work life is structured, but the living space feels heavy with accumulated things that no longer serve any purpose. The adjustment here is not about becoming obsessively tidy. It is about recognizing that your physical environment has a direct impact on your emotional and financial stability. Clutter is not just visual noise. It is energetic noise. It occupies mental bandwidth. It creates a subtle but persistent sense of being overwhelmed that follows you even when you are not looking at it. And for Virgo, whose mind is already processing more information than most, that additional noise can be the difference between feeling stable and feeling scattered. Choose one area of your physical space that has been neglected, not all of them, just one, and bring it into order. Not perfection, just order. Let go of things you no longer use. Create systems that make maintenance effortless. And then notice how you feel. Notice how the cleared space translates into a cleared mind. Notice how the external order creates an internal calm that ripples out into every other area of your life. That ripple effect is the silent magic of this adjustment. Adjustment 7. The seventh silent adjustment involves your relationship with receiving support. You are excellent at giving support, Virgo. You are the one people call when they need practical help, clear thinking, or a steady hand. But when it comes to receiving, when it comes to allowing others to help you to carry part of the load to contribute to your well-being, you resist. Not always consciously, but consistently. You believe you should be able to handle everything yourself. You worry that asking for help makes you a burden. You fear that depending on others will lead to disappointment. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. This resistance to support is one of the most significant threats to your stability, because no one can sustain a stable life entirely alone. Stability requires community. It requires the willingness to lean on others when you need to, and to allow them to lean on you in return. It requires the humility to admit that you do not have all the answers and the courage to let someone else provide what you cannot provide for yourself. The adjustment is small but transformative. Start by accepting help when it is offered without deflecting or minimizing. When someone says, "Can I help with that?" let your first response be yes instead of "No thank you, I have got it." When you are struggling with something, tell one trusted person instead of carrying it alone. These small acts of receiving will begin to rebuild the support network that your independence has slowly dismantled, and that network is one of the strongest pillars of true lasting stability. Adjustment 8. The eighth and final silent adjustment is about trust. Not trust in other people, not trust in the universe, but trust in yourself. Trust that the decisions you have made were the best you could make with the information you had. Trust that the path you have walked, with all its detours and dead ends, has brought you to exactly where you need to be. Trust that the person you are right now, with all your imperfections and uncertainties, is more than capable of building the stable, prosperous life you desire. This trust is not blind. It is not naive. It is earned trust, built on decades of evidence that you have survived everything life has thrown at you. You have weathered financial storms and emotional upheavals and physical challenges and relational disappointments, and you are still here, still standing, still trying, still growing. That track record is not nothing, Virgo. That track record is everything. And the adjustment is simply allowing yourself to draw confidence from it. When you trust yourself, your decisions become cleaner. Your actions become more aligned. Your energy stops being scattered across 100 contingency plans and focuses itself on the path that actually matters. And in that focus, stability is not something you chase. It is something you create naturally and inevitably, simply by being fully, unapologetically, and trustingly yourself. These 8 silent adjustments are not grand gestures. They are not dramatic transformations. They are the quiet recalibrations of a life that is already good, but could be extraordinary. And for Virgo, the sign that has always understood that greatness lives in the details, these small shifts carry a power that louder, flashier changes never could. Make them silently, make them consistently, and watch as the stability you have been seeking builds itself around you, one quiet day at a time, until it becomes so solid, so natural, so deeply woven into the fabric of your life that you wonder how you ever lived without it. You have 2 options after this video: close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.